Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Star Report. This is Jason. This is Jason. And I'm here at New Dimensions Crystals and Reiki in downtown Brenham, Texas. And this is the Star Report for July the 10th through July, I guess that'd be the 16th, as it's written on my paper. That didn't feel like 7 days, but I guess you count the day that you're on. Oh my goodness, math is hard. Um, it's not really that hard. Especially if you're a psychic, you just know math. You don't know how math happens. But anyway, that's a side note. Let's get right into I'm not getting right into the report because I've already talked about things. Let's get to the sun, our largest star, which is why we report on it in the star report. And probably not just recently, but definitely there's more science that the sun is more influential in our daily lives and in our weather patterns and in the shifting of the earth into pole shifting and then a new way of being. So let's get right in the sun. The sun today, there is it's not necessarily large, it's pretty big, large coronal hole in the north half of the facing Earth facing disk, which is facing the Earth. And coronal holes, as a reminder, if you're new to the channel, produce a plasma stream when it comes out, right? So usually it's a couple days past, but it'll increase the speed of the solar wind through the plasma that comes out through that dark spot on the sun. And when that happens, it's more of a compression energy, right? So it'll feel like a heaviness, a thickness. If you're used to sort of walking on flat pavement, it's almost like walking in sand, right? So it's not necessarily oppressive, but sometimes can sort of feel heavy, like you don't want to get off the couch, can't get motivated. That kind of energy starts to be associated, that's a good word, with the coronal holes. And just below that, there's a really large, it was kind of mundane until overnight, it started to become magnetically active, where they start to mix the positive, negative, and that starts to bring about flaring. And so there has been some M-class flaring that's been going on that Earth-facing disk. Not a lot of CMEs, right? So it can flare and not release a whole lot of stuff out of it, right? That would be a CME, is a coronal mass ejection, meaning that the corona, the sun, has a mass, meaning it has substance ejection. So it hasn't thrown any of that energy or plasma off from those CMEs, but since it has started to be active and it is Earth facing and it's right there with the coronal hole, probably want to watch that for picking up on um, extra flaring that probably will produce a CME. But we'll see. Just sort of pay attention to the solar weather for that. We are currently, speaking of the solar weather, in the sun zodiac sign of Cancer. And Cancer, remember, is a crab, not the disease. In case you have no idea what you're watching and you're like, what? What's astrology? And so that's the sign. Alchemically, the signs sort of um, coincide. No, correspond with parts of the body. I was like, what does it do? And that's why it's kind of odd that they're not necessarily divided in the months that we have into the months of the zodiac, because it sort of diverts our focus from what we should be working on the inner side. But nonetheless, it is associated with the breast, the stomach, and the spleen. And so the energy that you would probably experience, and this would be not necessarily a feeling, but interactions with humanity and stuff, when you're sort of experiencing that stuff, is you might be coming into conflict with things that don't nurture you or feed you, right? Uh, Breast, we want to think about nursing. Stomach is really about, how do we feed and give energy and sustenance to the self, and then the spleen is really about toxicity. Um, and so you might be having conflict with things that aren't nurturing you, right? That could be people, that could be jobs, that could be environments, that could be whole towns, that could be family. Um, and the things which are toxic to you, right? So that could be habits, right? You might have a favorite food, you might even have an addiction, but you might have a preference for maybe let's just say alcohol, right? And so what you would sort of experience is sort of like that sponge feeling, like where you're being just wrung out, right? And then when you sort of, get wrung out and you're like, oh, it's not that bad, and you could add more stuff to it, right? And so this energy of Cancer sort of doing with that stuff is really forcing um you with to change. And if you aren't, right, you're continually probably feeling wrecked, right? And maybe there's a reason, can't move, can't, change your home environment, all those kinds of things, right? But you're starting to know and see that these things are actually physically affecting you. And so that's the things that sort of happen during the sun sign of Cancer. So pay attention to that. It doesn't sound fun, but recognition and knowledge is sometimes the key that is needed to sort of make the change. And really, the planetary alignments are such that you are empowered to make those changes, which leads me into the 3 retrogrades that we're having. Retrogrades are really a chance to explore the energy of those planets, right? And the inner workings of the self, not the external world, right? So when things are in retrograde, it's really sort of bringing a shift, right? And so those can be societal, right? So the society is looking at itself like, what the fuck is going on? Why is all of this stuff happening? But mostly the things that we are mostly in control of, mostly the things that we're mostly in control of is ourselves. And so the 3 retrogrades are Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn. And just moving through the notes, Pluto in retrograde is really about becoming empowered by loving your shadow, right? And so that's all the things that are hidden that you might have a little bit of shame around, right? You become empowered when all of a sudden you aren't afraid of that, when you aren't ashamed by that, or you sort of wear that as, hey, we all make mistakes kind of energy. And so cosmically, you'll start to see during this period, and maybe you've already seen, right, these sort of celebrity scandals of, oh, 2 years ago you did you this, and blah 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 blah. And this is usually sort of happening to new people on the stage, right? But there's been a lot since Pluto started dealing with celebrities and parties and the music industry per se. Those kinds of things that have been hidden come to light. um you can get into reasons and causes and all that fun stuff, but the energy and the information is really the thing to pay attention to, that you can become empowered, that if you have had something bad that wasn't necessarily the orchestration of your own evil tendencies, then you can sort of say that out loud and be empowered by that, because somebody can't say, I'm going to tell on you, kind of energy. So that's what Pluto retrograde does. Neptune retrograde is the second planet. um that's really about receiving the energy of receiving guidance, right? So this is going to feel like guidance from above, right? So guardian angels, channeled information, but really this is deep within stuff. And so this is about receiving that information from the inside, aha moments, synchronicities, and actually using it, right? So the soul really takes the lead and is throwing you clues and information and really wants you to act upon those, not just go, oh, I had this really cool dream and then do nothing about it. It really, my hair's doing weird things. It feels warm in here today. I'm sweaty. Get me a little rag and sell those on the internet. Want some sweat? It's holy sweat from Jason, which is going to make me laugh when I talk about this other thing. Anywho, soul taking the lead, and people might some of the energy around this is when you start to listen to that and you're around people that aren't listening to that, people might start to think that you're losing it, right? That you're not participating in the agreed upon narrative in construction of the society or the small groups that you're in. So people will think that you're losing it, that that you're thinking that they're bad, that kind of energy. So pay attention to that for Neptune retrograde. And then Saturn retrograde is really about mystical timing and sort of training to sort of use that, right? So if you were going to think about what's Saturn helping you do, it's helping you use information like this for yourself, right? So information like this, like a star report, like what's the cosmic background, what's the pattern, what's the template, what's the easiest way through, right? It's kind of like doors locking and unlocking, right? So if the energy is such, then there's an easier way during those times. And so Saturn is sort of giving you a aha about that. A lot of times this is about public recognition, right? So this is about doing stuff well. So you might be publicly recognized for doing your job well. And a lot of times this is not going to be about doing your job per se, like the technical part of it, but about your attitude while doing it and your ability to help others do it better, right? So this is about public recognition. And sometimes this is also about public recognition about love, right? So you'll have like, oh, been married 65 years, that kind of energy. And if you're kind of in a place where you're doing stuff just to get by, this is also about finding an authentic career, like something that really can manifest both the joy in the heart and then also the joy in the bank account, right? And you can talk amongst yourself about which comes first. We all have our ideas about that. Leads us into today, Wednesday, 7/10, July 10th. Jupiter is really the energy that's sort of prevalent today with the 3 retrogrades, but it's really moving you to participate and not just observe or wait for your plans to happen, right? So you have these ideas of watching. It's kind of like watching the field for the time to be right. This is like merging into traffic kind of stuff. Um, you're waiting for things to align. And so the energy of Jupiter is really trying to tell you to, like, how about trying to control or influence the field so that you can act sooner. So this is about participation in the things that you're trying to have happen in your life, things that you'd like to have come to fruition. And the greater your resistance, the more you should really push and say should or have the potential to do bigger things, right? So if you're receiving resistance, it's because of the greatness of what is coming through, right? So sort of think about trying to get large objects through a tunnel, right? You might need more pressure, you might need more momentum. So this is sort of saying what is coming through might be bigger than you think it is. And that's going to cause the resistance, people thinking you're crazy, right? That's really the energy of Jupiter. And today is telling you, like, double down on that, keep pushing through because you have something great to offer. And past the resistance is this great expansion. Um, so with that, energy upgrades might have you feeling off. Um, and that's a discomfort, right? So the energy that you were or currently are in refusing to not be, refusing to stay, whatever. Whenever that's comfortable, that feels good, right? So when you expand and you go to a different town for the first time, you drive a different road, all of a sudden that feels weird, but that's because you're expanding, not because it's bad. Is the energy to sort of pay attention to during that. And then the thing that I was laughing about earlier about I was going to sell prayer rags is today is actually the 20 year anniversary of my ordination. And so ordination is just the conferring of a holy order of things onto somebody, right? So you've conferred a template of ways of living, right? Same things sort of happen with energetic healing attunements, initiations into rites, right? Like this would be uh, ancient yoga rites, kinds of stuff like that. And so it was just interesting that 20 years ago, here in Brenham, Texas, as a matter of fact, I was ordained. Um, and so a lot of times that ordination is a set apart, right? And so sometimes it takes 20 years to sort of come in and recognize what the potential is of things and how um, best to create a life that is about that spiritual expansion. And sometimes it's not in formal ancient organizations. It's something for a nowness, right? You can get the basics from things like that, but expansion and growth and revelation is always something that comes to you or continues to come, right? It's not locked into place. Anywho, cool day. Tomorrow, Thursday, 7/11. 7/11. That seems like a Ice Cube song. Um, probably about dice, maybe. Can't remember the song. Anywho, use solar energy to keep enacting your guidance, right? So the sun is just kicking off, and the energy of Thursday is the sun is energy of action, of movement, right? It's masculine energy of doing, not feminine energy of allowing space for the creation to take form. And Thursday's really a time to sort of try out that higher energy that's coming, right? So the idea of what you're becoming, sort of try that out and sort of see how that flies on Thursday. Friday, 7/12, July 12th, the Sirius star system, dog star, Sirius radio, um, begins to align or open up or become a portal, gateway of its energy, and the other star systems too. But the Syrian star system in particular is an awakening energy of ascension, right? So it's a template, it's a data set which is about going to the next level of consciousness. So that starts to open up for about a week or so, beginning Friday. Yeah, you're just going to sort of feel, how would that feel? Synchronicities, aha moments. Sometimes it might feel like fatigue, like that sort of when you have a sugar crash and you sort of get like shortness of breath and a little bit of cold sweat. That's the energy downloading and upgrading, right? And it makes you feel a little bit shifty. Do with that what you will on Friday. Saturday, 7/13, with the zodiac Cancer and the planetary alignments and the retrogrades, really sort of moves from that solar energy on Thursday to lunar energy, right? Divine feminine. So it's almost like you have this condensed 3-day period where it's do and then see the energy and then sort of allow, right? So it's kind of like planting a tree and watching it grow. That's the energy of Saturday. I'm saying a lot today. I'm thinking in my head. I'm thinking a lot. Anywho, Sunday, the 14th, is the moon is halfway to full, right? So that's going to enhance that feminine energy. And also Cancer is ruled by the moon. And this is just that inner awareness that there is an inner dialogue that is not your active brain. Right. And this is going to be sort of soul wisdom kind of stuff. Just sort of pay attention to that being more prominent on Sunday. Monday, 7/15, that inner wisdom continues to reveal, I won't call it shocking, but this is really where your belief and your limitations about self, right? About your own divinity, about the potential, about the specialness, about for lack of a better term, eternalness of you, right? So this is the extent of the greatness of the soul having a physical experience, right? And so this inner wisdom on Monday is really this recognition that you're not your body, you're not your mind, you're something greater. And the thing is to sort of allow your belief system to sort of assign, give, imbue, that's a big word, imbue you with this divinity that you are worthy by nature of being sentient, right? Because your sentience is a sign of this divinity. Sounds like a big Monday. Maybe take a day off from work, go get a massage, or come get a session at New Dimensions Crystals and Reiki.com. NewDimensionsCrystals.com. Book a session. 7/15. Anyway, leads us into Tuesday. 7/16 is a 22 Master Day. And 22 Master Days is really the energy, the numerology of the day 22 is about mastery. And this is about knowledge of the self, leads to self-mastery, right? So all this revelation of what you are, how you function, what your soul's been screaming at you, right? When you have that understanding, knowledge is power, right? So knowing the self leads to self-mastery. Right? So that's the energy of Tuesday, which concludes our week and our star report. Of course, like I just mentioned, I'm here in downtown Burn, Texas. Drop by, buy crystal, get some incense, work on your spiritual practices. And if you need assistance sign up for one of the sessions. The cleanse is really a Reiki session, which is not that you're dirty, but that there are things that it's kind of like a clogged engine, right? There's nothing wrong with the engine, there's nothing wrong with you, but there's things that are keeping you from functioning at your highest potential, right? Whether that's belief system, stuck energy, trauma. That's what the cleanse is going to get rid of. It's not like I'm going to scrub you with antibacterial soap. And then it's an alignment, right? So kind of like if your tires are out of balance, right? So if your chakras are spinning in an odd way and keeping you either uber focused on one and not playing nice with the others, something like that. That's what happens in that session. Then there's the connect. If you're just sort of feeling detached from this sort of soul level stuff, that you're feeling small and isolated from all that is, connect really sort of reconnects you to that energy. And then integrate is, hey, I'm this new person with old thoughts, and so it sort of helps filter out those old thoughts. And of course, breath work. Hey, if you just want the universe to use your own body and the chemicals within it, breathing in air also brings in prana. That prana, that spiritual energy, moved in a rhythmic fashion through the body, triggers it to react in a certain way, which also has some alignment, some cleansing, and some expansion qualities to it. Those are all on the website, and go there at newdimensionscrystals.com. If you like, I'll be here waiting. And until next week, everybody, many blessings.